My name is Lori Kaplan, and I'll be serving as one of your moderators tonight from Ashland.News. Yay! Woohoo! Aren't we lucky to have a newspaper? Yes. Thank you. And my co-moderator, she's kind of in a Phil Donahue kind of role tonight, is Hillary Larson over here. And we are both proud to be on the board of Ashland.News, and several of my other board colleagues are here this evening, and I hope you'll thank them as well. So we're proud to be part of Ashland.News, and Ashland News is our host for this evening. We're also your neighbors, and like you, we care very much about this community, and we are your neighbors. And we also worry about wildfire. So our idea in creating this program is that by working together and learning together, we are much safer. So thank you for choosing to spend your evening here with us tonight, and we hope this is a positive next step in your fire preparedness. Tonight's program is a follow-on from last year, and I want to get a little show of hands. How many of you joined us at the program in the Armory last year? Great. Okay, great. Did anybody watch it on YouTube? Oh, a couple people. Okay, well this is good because we have a balance of people who came through this before and came back. See, that's a good sign. And others who will be doing this scenario for the first time. And I think for those of you who are first timers, I think this might be a little different than anything you've ever done before, but I promise you it's going to be worthwhile. So thank you. So, I have to give a little plug for Ashland News. You already did clap for me, so thank you. We are a nonprofit, professional news organization with a mission to serve our community pure and simple. We're not in it for profit. We don't have a political bias, a political motive. We don't have an agenda. We're just trying to get the facts straight, to help you keep up with what's going on, connect you in our community, profile intriguing and influential people in our community. And our mission also is to convene important community conversations. And what could be more important than what we're doing here right now tonight? Something we all share. But we're like public radio. We're only sustainable if you support us. So thank you to everyone in this room. If you do support us, raise your hand for me if you are a supporter of Ashland News. Okay, look at that. That's great. Thank you so much. That's so exciting. Those of you who haven't made that step yet, I hope you'll consider it. Yes, so thank you. So we can keep the news coming. This is a partnership. The best things in this community come from partnerships. Ashland News, City of Ashland, Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library, and the Ashland Climate Collaborative. And we're also excited, as you saw when you came in, we have a number of tabling partners that have resources all about wildfire. That's all we're talking about here tonight, so I'll tell you a little bit about some of the special things out there. I'm also going to tell you that thanks to our friends at the Ashland Climate Collaborative, we're going to be taking a lot of questions tonight, but it's impossible to get to all of your questions. So what we did last year, and we'll do again, is we're going to collect your questions that don't get answered, and we put them up on this ashlandclimate.org/wildfire website, and we'll tell you this in an email, but you can know that we are going to chase down the answers to your questions, and they will be published and available to you. So, what to expect tonight? We're here together to take a collective step forward, but the real work will happen in your homes and in conversations with your family and your neighbors. Tonight, we hope to offer enough information and provide enough resources for you to plan your next steps. Then, it's in your hands. Yes, our city staff have a critically important role to play, and they're going to tell you what you can expect from them. But our safety is also, to some extent, in our own hands. Our goal tonight is that you have more information than you had when you arrived, and you're ready to use your critical thinking skills, and you're inspired to prepare and practice over the coming weeks and beyond. As my piano teacher used to say, practice, practice, practice. She really did, and I did, and I still play, so it worked. We'll start with presentations, and then you'll spend some time working with each other. I'll tell you when. You'll notice that, well, the room is supposed to be divided in quadrants, and it's kind of going to work that way, and we'll tell you more about that later. We have a little game for you. So here's how to ask questions. Hopefully you grabbed an index card as you came in, but we have several volunteers. Who are the volunteers who have cards? So they'll be around looking for you. If you raise your hand when you want a card or you're ready to turn your card in with your question, those volunteers are going to come over and get your card, and they'll give you another one if you want one. That way we just keep everything flowing, and then we have people who are going to organize the questions, so we kind of group questions together and kind of try to get through as much as we can. So does that make sense? It's a card process, and we've got lovely volunteers here. And look at you, already raising your hands. Look at that. That's great. Okay, that's what to expect. So I am right on time. Okay, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, who is Kelly Burns. After 32 years as a firefighter and paramedic with Ashland Fire and Rescue, Kelly was hired in 2023 to serve as Ashland's first emergency management coordinator. Kelly's work so far has included setting up evacuation zones, organizing drills, and much, much more, much, much more. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. It's all yours.
Hi, everyone. Wow. This is a little low, and I don't want to have to stoop too far. Kelly Burns, City of Ashland, Emergency Management Coordinator, and previously with Ashland Fire and Rescue. I was the initial incident commander of the Alameda fire, and if you've heard that story before, within the first 15 minutes or so, I was pretty frustrated because I was asking for more coordination above the fire department's level, and some of that didn't happen. I switched tracks in 2023. The city gratefully chose me to be the emergency management coordinator for us, and I've been trying to fix the things that didn't work during the Alameda, as well as pushing things like this. But I gotta tell you, I'm gonna have to start off this topic by saying how disappointed I am. Only 400 of you showed up tonight. And there's 20,000 others out there that are gonna need this information. So as we learn tonight, we're going to say some of the same things. You might hear some of the same things. I've heard this wise person say that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so if you hear some of the same things, great. But if you hear something new, then let's learn and learn from each other. All right, so here we go. I'm going to see if I can make this work. All right, so I've talked a bit about our area, my history, our collective history as the Alameda event for those of us that were here. But what are you paying attention to? Who's paying attention right now? Does anybody recognize this? So this is the East Evans Creek Fire. It's right in our front yard. It's a little ways out, and it's some of our friends in the Rogue Valley. And I'm paying attention to it because what started as a fire that looked like it could be managed in a couple of days, it's a real thing. It's a real deal. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So thank you for being here because you are paying attention right now. What should we be paying attention to? You're at a university, and for those of you that had the privilege of going to a university, they have all these different levels of courses that you take. So I think evacuation readiness is like a 201 level. I can't give you a baccalaureate degree at the end of this, but if I could, you could hang it on your fridge like Mom used to do. So how do you get ready for it, though? Your syllabus then is to consider your sources of information. And my top sources of information are National Weather Service. I'm paying attention to them, because I think most of us understand, and if you're new to the area, wind is the driver of our worst fire events. So when the days are windy, that is the time that the hackles should be up on your neck a little bit. And with the preparation that you're doing right now or that you've already done, you're going to be able to make better decisions. Maybe you won't be so surprised when a wind-driven wildfire comes knocking at your evacuation zone. The other thing I want everybody to do is make sure you're signed up for Jackson Alerts, and if you've managed to get through the Jackson Alerts barriers of a username, a password, and all the little buttons, congratulations. It's a great system. It's one that Ashland uses, it's the whole region uses, and some of the things we've done over the last 3 or 4 years is to make sure that if you get an evacuation alert in your area, it's the same as what East Evans Creek Fire people are receiving, just different geography. I hope that makes sense. It's also accessible in Spanish now, and this last year we worked with our small Ukrainian community that has been displaced and is now in Ashland, and we're teaching them the same things. So that was an interesting, hard thing to do, is translate into Ukrainian. The other piece I have there, the third one, is trusted sources, which means trusted sources of information, not the reels that you're addicted to that you watch, even though those are fun, but trusted sources of information, not necessarily social media, although I will say, especially this time in East Evans Creek, I think social media has stood up some good response with community members. Okay, I'm going to say something about troll farms, but we're going to keep moving on. Friends and neighbors, and then Ashland CERT. Of course, we've revived the Ashland CERT program to make sure that it's a vibrant and usable program. If you have not signed up to be an Ashland CERT member and you're curious about it at all, talk to my friends out there or anybody that's wearing an Ashland CERT shirt tonight. Finally, the text opt-ins that you should be able to join into if you're having trouble with Jackson alerts. I recommend you at least do this if you're a visitor, or if you have visitors that come here, then the text opt-ins are the best way to go. Moving on, prepared ahead of time. Yes, of course, we're doing go kits. We're thinking about like extra meds we might need if we're going to be displaced for a few days. Like, do I need medications? Could I put a few extras in there? And I get it, Western medical care is actually pretty complicated in the United States, but having a little bit set aside that you could take with you at a moment's notice if you are going to have to be away from your home for more than a few days. Make your plans level 1, 2, and 3. This is the new push, I think, this year for me, is like we talked about the level 1, 2, and 3 levels of evacuation, but you should have a plan for level 1. What are you going to do? What are your friends going to do? What are your kids going to do? Where you work, what are they going to do? A level 2 as well. And if level 2 and level 3 match, that's fine. That's okay. That's a good plan. Finally, learn the place where you live. We'll talk about my dad a little bit because he's a local. And then practice ahead of time. You're practicing your evacuation route and your timing, and we'll talk further on that. So, but let's dispel and maybe learn a little bit about the weather service and the language they use. It's like a foreign country. I don't know, is anybody a weather nerd here? I'm trying to learn the language, and I'm trying to translate it for you all. But some of the most important language you can learn right now is what a red flag warning means for our area. And we have 3 kinds. We have a fire weather watch, and that's the nice one. It just means it's hot, there could be some lightning, and fuels are a little dry, and it could be a little windy, but it's just a fire weather watch. Red flag warning is different, and red flag PDS, we talked a little bit about this, and the National Weather Service just adopted this for the West Coast about 1.5 years ago, so if you haven't heard of it, we'll poke fun at it, but we'll learn what it is. A fire weather watch then is that there is critical fire weather around, and we're keeping an eye on it. It's a little bit like a level 1 kind of be aware and be ready. Should be able to make that bridge there. The second level then is a red flag warning. That's when fuels, which is anything that can burn outside, are super dry and they'll take up fire quicker. It also means that there's some wind. There could be lightning as well. These are also territorial, so if you look at a National Weather Service map that shows red flag warnings, sometimes it'll just be to the east of us, but you might get a notification that says, hey, red flag warning for the Ashland area, but it's all the way at the Klamath County border. So learning where to find this information on the National Weather Service sites and then learning how to interpret it, like that's a whole nother thing. If I had enough time, we would do a whole class on that, because again, they speak a different language, they have different tools, and we need them. We need them because we need to pay attention. Finally, the last one, the PDS. Does anybody know what the PDS is? I'm just going to ask to the room here. What does it stand for? I hear good guesses. It is. It's not a PDA. That's what we had in school. So this acronym comes from the Midwest during tornado weather, and it's. And I love making fun of this. It's the naming committee was out the week that they assigned this. It is a particularly dangerous situation. Okay, so yeah, okay, I'm a longtime firefighter. I do laugh at things that are scary, but because a PDS is actually scary, and so I had to talk with my National Weather Service guys because it's hard to pin them down on exactly what it is. And so this is what they said. It is winds greater than 35 miles an hour sustained. During the Almeida event, we had close to 35 miles an hour, but it was definitely 25 miles an hour, and that's like feeling somebody pushing on your chest the whole time. And then we had gusts. We definitely had gusts of 50 miles an hour, and that's like somebody shoving you. So that's a PDS. That is a rare wind event. And I know for a fact that the very first National Weather Service PDS that was issued in 2025, right before the Eaton and Palisades fire. That was the very first. And sadly, there will be more. So pay attention to those. Mostly we get red flag warnings around here. And early in the season, we get fire weather watches. So now you know a little bit more about that, and Sharice is going to remind you of these things. So I need you to sign up for alerts. I need you to jump through the hoops of Jackson Alerts. I don't care if you're tired of recording more passwords and usernames and stuff too. This is one of the most valuable pieces and trusted sources of information you can get. It is your evacuation notices, it's missing person notices, it's all the things. Even infrastructure failures around town. I work very hard to try to make sure people know when their power will come back on. We're not perfect at that yet, but we're getting there. Finally, Jackson EVACs is one. So we have text opt-ins. They're a lot simpler. Ashland started with text opt-in alerts back in 2014 and 15 because signing up for Jackson Alerts, which was Everbridge at the time, it's hard. It's not easy. And so we just went with text opt-ins. And if you make a message in your phone, for those of you that are new to the area, if you create a text and you're sending it to your friend, 888-777, that's your friend. And you're going to send them the message, first 97520, which is one of the text opt-ins that I use most frequently in this area for most of our advisories, especially for missing persons, because the 97520 area is pretty broad, and there's about 19,000 of you on it.
Right.
So I'll also make sure that I amplify any evacuation messages for our area on the 97520, because if you're having trouble with Jackson Alerts, you're not going to have trouble signing up for that. Now, Jackson EVACs is the next best one. And why do I want you to do that? Because that is evacuation notices for all of Jackson County. So a quick show of hands, and it's okay if you're not getting them. Who here is getting evacuation notices for the East Evans Creek fire? All of you. Well, are you signed up for Jackson EVACs, or do you live in that area? I heard all of you, and some yes, some no, and some others. Okay. Thank you. You are on watch duty, so you are receiving area notifications. You can totally use that. Watch duty has some delay because they're waiting for emergency managers and trusted sources to put that information out. And watch duty is crowdsourced, so they try to vet their people, but sometimes that information isn't quite what it needs to be. So I like watch duty. It's a good utility. They're doing pretty good for East Evans Creek, but their information will come out after it's sent. Jackson EVACs will send to you immediately any zone in Jackson County. And maybe that's too much. I always hear people saying, I get too many messages. Get over it. You're living in a wildfire area. So you actually should be aware. If you're going to take a trip to Shady Cove for the day, maybe you might change your plans if you knew that one of the zones is active. Okay, that's important. That's paying attention. And you can put up with a few more buzzes on your devices, okay? All right, hopefully I'm not shaming anybody too much. Finally, for local Ashlanders, watershed is when we have prescribed burns because we're trying to manage our forest up above in our watershed, which is where our water supply is. And so we'll let you know when we're going to be closing off trails, or you might get some residual smoke that drifts down into town. That'll be on a watershed, which is also to 888-777. And finally, the 97520 shelter is for any time we open a shelter, mostly for severe weather around here, which has thresholds for high temperatures, low temperatures, and the very tricky one when we are inundated with smoke greater than 150 AQI. These are all ones that you can sign up for, and when you get tired of them, you can just text stop, and then you're out. How easy is that? That's why it's so great. All right, well, let's talk about evacuation levels. Level 1, 2, and 3, Oregon decided years ago to do this. It started as ready, set, go, just like a race, but then they found out we needed to add a few words because people would see those words and they'd be like, well, go, where am I supposed to go? And why should I go? And so they added go now just a few years ago. And that now actually motivates people, according to the social scientists that changed it. But we have these 3 levels. And my point for showing you this is that the state, during the Alameda, really showed some weakness in their ability to respond, to recover from, to plan, to help us. So we get to poke fun at them all the time. But somebody at the state designed this form. I think it's easy to read, and so I will highlight this. Each of you is getting one of those, plus the checklist. The checklist that's inside there of your booklet that you have tonight has some stuff that when I read it, I was like, oh, these are good ideas. There's a few on there that I'm like, well, they should have edited this a little better. But the things that you can do in your home, if you have time, the things you can do outside of your home, if you have time, all great ideas. So make sure that you use that. If you're not doing all of it, we're all not doing all of it. But if you can start doing some of it and then work with each other on it, then you're getting there. Okay, let's keep moving. What's it going to look like? That's what it's going to look like on your phone. When you receive it on your device, or when you get a landline phone call, which the robo voice is a little weird when she starts talking all these things, but it's going to say your zone. And for this, because this is just pretend, I'm including all Ashland zones. So if you know your zone, who knows their zone? Are you just doing that just because I'm right? I'm really proud of you guys, actually. All right, so we also translated into Spanish, and if you've been receiving if you receive the Jackson EVAX notices, there's a longer message that also tells you, here's what you can do for a Be Ready, here's what you can do for a Be Set, also some prompts and things like that, because we're trying to give you the information so that you know what to do from here on out. All right, so know your zones, learn your zones, not just where you live, but where you spend time in. I know the protective bubble of Ashland's great, but you got to go to Trader Joe's sometime, or you got to go to Costco. And there are zones out there that you should be looking at. So I want you to go to the Genesis Protect app or the Genesis Protect mapping tool online, scroll around and learn your zones. If you haven't been to one of the classes where we really dive into the zones, you know that all Ashland zones, if I go back here, are ASH. Why do you think it's ASH? And we have 10, so we have 001 and we go all the way up to 10. What do you think Medford's zone might look like? What would their first letters be? Great. What would Talent be? TAL. What would Phoenix be? PHO, that's the soup we like, the faux soup. No, it's PHX, like the airport. So look it up, Ashland, and then share it with a friend. So I wanted to highlight this. It's an embarrassing photo because this is a time when the young guy on your left wore his baseball cap backwards. Shameful. But that's my dad. And my dad was something of an adventurer. And so when I was a kid and he would take us places, if we would go to a place we'd been before, he would drive a different route every time. And if we were coming back from a place to go home, he would drive a different route. It was really annoying. But I get it now. I get the lesson, and that is what I want you to do is, there's not 100 ways out of Ashland or out of most zones, but there's a few. And if you're not taking time to try a different route now and then, because when we have a mass fleeing evacuation event, traffic's gonna suck. Sorry for the 4-letter word. So if you can learn your area a little better, you're going to learn a lot about other roads and ways that you can get out, as well as wide open spaces. So thanks, Dad, for teaching me a valuable lesson early on, even before we had all the fires. This is our beloved little Ashland area. All of our puzzle pieces are Ashland evacuation zones. And if those of you that have moved to the area in the last couple of years and you don't have evacuation zones and all of this sounds foreign, come and talk to me later. I'll tell you why we have them. But just realize that they are a critical tool in the age of fire that we are in right now in the way to navigate how we are all going to get through this together. And then the Jackson County zones are surrounding it, so I also tell people to know their surrounding zones as well. I hope that makes sense. Let's do a quick review on this. And can I check my time, Sydney? Say it again?
15 left.
3 minutes and 15 seconds. We're going to fly. All right, so Be Ready means all these things. And if you hold your booklet up and read some of the prompts on that, Be Ready just means be aware, pay attention. Maybe call your friend and say, hey, did you get this too? If the fire's coming from this way, maybe we go north. Or if the fire's coming from the other way, maybe we go south and let's go to our meeting place if we need to. Level 1 is an awareness level. Level 2, Be Set, means the fire's closer. It's not at your door. And I know some people that if they get a level 2, they're just going to go. That's okay. You don't have to wait for somebody to tell you, go now. And finally, level 3, go now. That means danger is there and that you need to go. And if you've done some prep, even a little bit ahead of time, when your amygdala gets hijacked with adrenaline, if you already have your go kits ready to go because you knew that the fire was coming or something like, that's going to help you make better decisions because you're going to have that piece settled. Even still with these evacuations, I get stressed out too, and I have a lot of friends who are like big, tough firefighters, and sometimes they get a little freaked out too, especially if they're off duty for these things. If you see a vehicle that looks like this with red and blue lights on it, says sheriff or officer, and they knock on your door, and they say, hey, go now, evacuate, you don't need a message on your cell phone. That is a level 3 evacuation when an officer knocks on your door. Did I get that right, Chief Ty? Thanks, sir. All right, so evacuation preparedness 301 in the last 30 seconds we have. I want you to figure out your timing for if you get a notice, how long does it take you to go, okay, I'm going to start moving? Or do you have to think about it, mill around, oh God, I was making my smoothie. You put all those eggs in there. That's a real thing, but if you can shorten that time, good. Gather and pack essentials, how long does it take you? Travel time from your home or wherever you're at to a safe place that you pre-plan, thinking of which direction the fire might come. Time those things, and if you can shave time off, that's great. Other things, I'm just going to breeze through those. Decrease the time, I think we talked about that. Think about your routes, learn them. Thanks, Dad. Destinations north and south, because the wind blows both ways, everybody. And we've got a I-5 corridor that can take you north or can take you south. So think about a couple of places. Day versus night. It'd be nice if it just happened during the day when we were all ready and maybe we schedule it ahead of time. It's not going to happen with fire. Nearby open spaces as a backup plan. We'll talk more about that as we get further. Hey, who did the Ashland wildfire evacuation drill? Thank you. We did a practice drill community-wide, and we had a little over 300. And of course, then we've been asked, hey, can you do it again? And my pushback to you is, you can do it. You can do it yourself. You can talk to your neighbor tomorrow and say, hey, at 9:30, let's throw some stuff in our vehicle and drive out of town and see how long it takes us and try that out. And then communicate with family afterwards, because once you leave, it's a good idea to reconnect. I think one of my favorite people, oh man, I have to keep talking. One of my favorite people is Alistair from the water department, and he works way up in the canyon at our water treatment plant. And when we had a level 1 evacuation last year because of a wildfire up there, I'm calling him because I know his family. And I'm like, hey, dude, you guys probably need to go. And he's like, I'm good. And I'm like, do you want me to call your family? He's like, no, they're good too. We've already planned. If I have to evacuate, they know where I'm going. And that level of calm decision-making, we've planned for it. This is what we know. I want all of you to have that. All right, so maybe. The full report on this with all the data that we gathered from traffic is going to come out in late fall. I'm going to make it publicly available, and it's the first step in doing more of these. So again, I want to push back to you. So you've covered all these things. Look at that. We did it almost on time. What else should you pay attention to? I want to leave you with this thought. So the East Evans Creek fire is ongoing right now, and there was immediate need right then for shelter. Not just for humans, but for large animals. And they were like, okay, we're taking them all to the expo, because that's where they take the animals to. And they were like, no. Because they weren't ready, and they didn't have people and staff there and stuff too, because it takes more humans to make something like that work. And you know what happened? Is that the community said, hey, I've got a bunch of hay that we just harvested. We're going to place it here. If your animals need it, come and get it. Here's the location. And they did it on a community message board, like a Facebook thing. Again, one time that social media was good for everyone. But then they also said, and I have trailers. I can help you move your animals, because there were sheep and cows and horses and things like that. And so the community started chatting with each other on their available channels. And they just made that happen. Which is great. And now there's a little more organization, a little more governmental structure that's trying to put people in shelters and animals at the expo and stuff too. But it took the community to respond first. Powerful lesson there. Powerful lesson. What else should you pay attention to? We don't just get wildfires. We are potentially heading for a drought. So, hey, water curtailment. Talk to my friend Eliza Sorensen out there from the city. She's trying to make sure that the water curtailment measures are translated into English for the rest of us, because they're government speak that's hard to understand. And we are heading that way. The rest of the county is already in a drought. Ashland's doing a little better because our water supply is a little more resolute. But we could get there, and we could have a drought. Just what we needed during wildfire season. But you should pay attention to that. Ashland CERT, hey, if you haven't signed up or if you haven't met a CERT person, meet one. Finally, Better Prepared Neighborhoods. That's a homegrown program that does wildfire risk assessments for homes and evacuation preparedness for homes. And it's done by 2 of our very active CERT volunteers who, if you invite them, they come to your neighborhood group. They have you outside. They talk to you about wildfire risk assessments and plants you should plant. And then they talk about evacuation preparedness. And then you walk your neighborhood with your friends and you point out things. Oh, here's this arborvitae that's right next to my house. I've been thinking about removing that. And it's a good community-based thing. So better prepared neighborhoods, look at that. Why aren't we doing a wildfire evacuation drill in October? Because we are required to do a dam failure exercise.
Dam failure.
Thank you. For 2026, because the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission says we have to pretend that the dam just disappears, and then all this water comes flooding down into town, because we also have floods sometimes. And while that's not necessarily going to happen, nobody's going to hit the delete button on that. It's actually a great dam. We have to pretend that it happens. And so at the end of October, the entire city in this region is going to practice an exercise that I'm coordinating, and there could be an evacuation component in that. I think I'm a victim of my own success, but I'll be building all that out over the next month, even when we're in wildfire season. And now finally, I want to hand it over to my friend Charisse, who you should also pay attention to.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. We are going to give you lots of time for questions, so if he went a little fast for you, don't worry. You're going to have time to ask if any of that needs more explanation. Thank you so much, Kelly. Now I'm pleased to introduce our next presenter, Charisse Sidoriak. Frankly, Charisse is the inspiration behind this program for us. Through her passion, let's go ahead and give it up for her right now. Through her passion, her expertise, and her sheer relentlessness, Charisse has inspired us to come together to address our wildfire challenges as a community. Charisse has 35 years of experience in managing fires and natural and cultural resources, and has devoted countless hours to our community on the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, developing Ashland's Wildfire Risk Assessment Program, and much, much more. Please join me in welcoming Charisse Sidoriak.
Thank you. Now she made me tear up and I won't be able to talk. I'm short enough, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Calvin.
And I can't see through my glasses because of the tears. Anyway, thank you, Kelly. Ashland is really lucky to have you as our emergency manager. I'd like to do a short poll. How many of you have signed up for alerts? Excellent, excellent. How many of you have go bags at home? Oh, you can't hear me? How many of you have go bags at home? About half, it looks like. How about in your car? Not too many. There's room for improvement. And how about a plan for any level? More room for improvement. Well, emergency managers try their best to prepare us for evacuations. Those are very physical things that you can do, very tangible. But the truth is, it's a bit more complicated. And every event will be different and full of surprises. Oh, I have to press two buttons right now. That's me. So last year I asked this question. Raise your hand if you've ever been through a wildfire evacuation order. How about self-evacuation because you felt uncomfortable? Last year it was about 3%. I'd say it's a little bit less, maybe 2% this year. Unfortunately, it's very hard, traumatic to go through that process. For those of you who have gone through it, I feel your pain. Unfortunately, no matter how much we prepare, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. And there are a lot of things that can go right. And that's what I'm here to help you do. For those of you who did go through the evacuation process, did it go smoothly? I don't see any hand. Oh, one hand. Good job. Can you tell us why? Maybe a secret formula? Anyway, the chances of a smooth evacuation are pretty low.
In fact, that is
So you've signed up for alerts, you have a plan, you have a go bag. Is that enough?
Oh,
No, it really is not. It's a continuum of best practices. Evacuation is a process that's not one and done. If you have a bag, you're not done. That's just part of it. Preparedness is both mental and physical, and the process is ongoing. To keep it alive, consider all sorts of contingencies. Have a plan B, C, and so on. Kelly talked about the nuts and bolts. My role is to help you prepare more holistically by looking at the mental and physical challenges that are beyond the go bag. I will help you make sense of your surroundings to promote self-reliance, expose some of the challenges you may not have thought of, and promote whole community care. You have the power to make critical decisions by making sense of what's happening in the environment around you. Your senses will be your first alert. If it's hot, dry, and windy, you know there's a problem, potentially. So simple observations can be life-saving. If the wind has been strong for days and it's hot and dry and it's late in the season, you're in pretty high fire danger. If you feel uncomfortable outside, trust your gut. Even if there's no fire on the horizon, if it feels uncomfortably hot, dry, and windy in August or September, it's okay to pre-evacuate, especially if a red flag warning has been issued. Thank you, Kelly, for explaining the red flag watches and warnings. I must admit, I'm still a little confused. Just remember that if the National Weather Service issues a red flag warning, pay attention. And they don't issue them just in the summertime. They issue them year-round. It's not the same thing as a level 1, 2, or 3 evacuation warning, but it is the first official warning that translates what you can feel in your body into an authoritative alert. It's a forecast that conditions are developing that can support rapid fire spread before a fire occurs. Before the Almeida fire, we were alerted to a red flag warning that was expected to last for 3 days, the 6th, 7th, and 8th of September. Guess what happened on the 8th? Situational awareness is a term used by wildland firefighters. It's another way of saying make sense of your surroundings and what's happening in the environment. By doing so, you're better prepared to stay out of trouble and problem solve. During an emergency, situational awareness is an empowering asset. To develop situational awareness, figure out where the fire is, the wind direction, the terrain, and the proximity of dry fuels by looking around. Look for the nearest safe place. If you are not at home, where is the closest open space? How are you feeling personally? Can you do all the things that need to get done if conditions are looking bad? So I'm going to take a moment on this slide. Here's an example of how to look at a fire situation to gain situational awareness. I believe the photo was taken during the Almeida fire in 2020. Think about what you're seeing in this. When the fire started on September 8, I told you it was the 3rd day of a red flag warning. There were 3 forecasts of strong winds and high fire danger for those 3 days, and everyone I talked to felt nervous. If you were here, I bet you felt nervous. The fire started in the subdivision in Ashland in dry grass on flat ground, similar to what you can see in this photo. Look at the ribbons of vegetation in the creek drainage. The smoke column is lying low, meaning that there are strong winds driving the fire. While slope can affect spread, because fire moves more quickly uphill, note that the winds are not pushing the fire into the hills of Ashland. What you can't see are the wooden fences and houses that are starting to burn. In this picture, the flat terrain The strength of the wind and the direction it is blowing are clues about where you should go. In this case, the worst possible place to be is pretty obvious, in the riparian corridor, where it's smoky and there is ample fuels available to carry the fire. So even if you are extremely well prepared to evacuate, there are challenges that communities experience, especially if they're densely populated. This is an AI-generated slide of the ones that I thought you should pay attention to. Fires can start fast and move in one direction and then quickly change direction. You may have only minutes to react. When there's a weather front passing over or downdrafts from clouds, that is very unstable. The fire can change direction very quickly. Smoke makes it very hard to see. So you may think you know where you're going or plan to go in your plan, but the smoke is very disorienting. There's a picture in the tunnel fire in 1991 where Oakland Hills was burning that shows cars milling around in a mud of smoke. Nobody knows where they are or where they're going. How do you prepare for that? Traffic congestion. Everyone is trying to evacuate. Notice that we don't have a 4-lane freeway. You could be sitting in your car for hours without food or water. That happened during the Almeda fire. Roads get blocked by broken down vehicles, debris flying, fallen utility poles, and unfortunately, in our day of information dependency, communications could be completely shut down. Satellite towers could be burned. Anyway, expect to not hear what's going on. Think for yourself is what I'm trying to get at. So here are some examples of some personal realities that people experienced during the first phase of evacuation on the Almeda fire and other fires. I interviewed people for the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and I heard many of these comments. I didn't get the alert, or it was confusing. I depended on others, but I couldn't reach them. I had no car and no way to travel. I was out. In one case, a friend of mine told me I was out at the farmer's market. I had my dog with me and my wallet in my pocket. She lost her home, and all she had were those things. And she works in Ashland. That's where her job is. I couldn't reach my parent. And the reverse, I couldn't reach my children. I couldn't find my pet. In one recent story I heard from somebody who's on the Ashland News Board, Paul, I think, he told me about a fire in Colorado, the Waldo fire, where his wife was ordered to evacuate and she couldn't find her cat. He was on the phone with her and she just would not leave. By the time she found her cat hiding under a bed and got in the car, it was so smoky she couldn't hardly drive. She had to inch her way down the road. These are some of the realities that are hard to prepare in a go bag. And then I couldn't bring everything with me. You know, you're told to do all these things like bring medications and your paperwork and your photos, and you know, you need a car for all of that stuff. But sometimes in an evacuation event, there's just not enough time. You might have to leave on foot. So consider having a backpack with the things that you really need to have. And if you're not at home, you have no go bag at all. That's why I asked about the car situation. Consider having some things in your car that you really need to have. Another thing is, over the long term, an evacuation can last for a few days or a day, but it could also last for weeks. When I evacuated from my hometown in New Mexico, it was 2 weeks. And when we all got down the hill, everybody from the entire county was looking for a place to stay. As you pointed out, they weren't set up for the animals. Well, they're also often not set up for people. So, during the 2018 Paradise Fire in California, the campfire, both ways out of town were blocked early on. Some residents survived by sheltering temporarily in parking lots or other areas where little vegetation was present, and escape routes were impossible. I'm sorry to say this, but chances are good, given the configuration of our community, that you will not be able to get out of town if there's a rapidly spreading wildfire in Ashland. That's why we often suggest that you think about leaving before you really have to. When you have no choice but to hunker down because you can't leave town, you may have to look for a temporary safe place, on foot or by bicycle. Where are these places near your home, your work, when you're out shopping? That process of being in tune with your environment, situationally aware, means that you will start checking out for this stuff during high fire danger. What if you're in another town when the wildfire hits that town? What would you do? These same principles apply. Look for a safe place to hunker down. And the officials can't tell you what they are officially because nobody can predict what would save everybody. You have to use your common sense. So I showed this slide last year because I find it really touching. Christina Taff and her mother Victoria had to make a tough decision in Paradise. Victoria's tragic death demonstrates the importance of critical thinking. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, critical thinking is the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue to form a reasoned judgment. She reasoned that nobody told her to evacuate, therefore she was safe. Her daughter made a different reasoned judgment. She said, I want to live, I'm going to leave. So remember Victoria Taft when there is no reliable information coming from authorities. I know this is sobering, but this is what the reality of evacuation you might be asked to face. And thinking about it in advance means that your amygdala isn't shut down, but that you actually have thought about what you could do. So, take some deep breaths. Your first duty is to yourself. Like they say on the airplane, put your mask on first so you can help someone else. Do what you need to do to think clearly. Stay calm so you can take care of others who depend on you for clues on how to react. That's how we get through extreme challenges together. To avoid being overwhelmed during the event, plan for the unexpected now. It will help you feel more confident and self-reliant. After the Q&A exercise that we'll have next, we're going to have an interactive exercise where you get to practice those critical thinking skills. To practice self-reliance, staying calm, and being kind to your neighbors.
That's good.
Got to breathe there. Thank you. I think that's all very difficult to hear, but I think we're blessed to have someone telling us that reality that we might not want to imagine. So thank you, Charisse. And Charisse speaks from experience and is channeling this experience in a way that's very loving to us so that we can learn from what's happened for other folks. So thank you. I think now my Phil Donahue friend over here, Hillary Larson, is going to tell us if we've got some questions for our experts.
I am Oprah, actually.
Oh, okay,
Thank
Oprah.
you very
Thank you.
much. So we're clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a great question on the heels of what has just been covered. So there was gridlock in Ashland during the Alameda fires. How many people experienced that? I know I did, even just blocks from my home. What has changed since then that will make evacuation successful if another fire threatens Ashland?
And I also want to welcome Chief Ty O'Meara here to to the podium. Thank you.
I can potentially respond to that question. So, of course, during the fire, I was fighting the fire, and what happened was a lack of coordination between Oregon Department of Transportation and any capacity for the city of Ashland to understand how to keep people from coming from the highway into town, or then how to get the people out and onto the highway and going in evacuation direction. And so what's been done since then is we've worked closely with Oregon Department of Transportation, because they went through it with us, and they don't ever want it to be that way again. And so in 2024, we had our first test of the system, and the system that we've designed at this point is that when we have a wildfire that's threatening a part of town and we need to evacuate, then the exits, the freeway exits, there's 3 of them. There's exit 11 on the far end of Siskiyou. Remember how you're going to learn your routes? Then there's one at exit 14. That's one of my favorite ends of town. It's off Shopping Cart, Albertsons, all those areas, Bymar. And then there's the north one, exit 19. If we get a fire that affects one of those areas, those exits will be closed to incoming traffic, anybody that wants to get off the freeway and try to come in, and they will only allow outflowing traffic for people that need to evacuate. So in 2024 in September, we had our first test of that system. There was a fire just off of exit 11, and it was going to push towards town. And so ODOT closed the exits for incoming traffic, and anybody that needed to evacuate was allowed to get out. Now, is that going to work every time in a fleeing event? No, but it's going to work a lot better. So that's one of the partners that we had to really get close with. Fire doesn't care about our jurisdictional boundaries, right? So we have to work together for that. I think my other thing when I think about how are things going to be better, right? Well, there's a lot of work in the CWPP that makes some proposals about how we can decrease traffic flow, how we can organize better. And I would encourage each of you to give that 200-page document a good, thorough read. 300-page document. Because everything that's in it really is gold. And it will get us closer to feeling like we're able to at least deal with 90% of the wildfire incidents that we get. There's always going to be those outliers, those ones on a PDS day that are going to overmatch us. And yet, there are more things that we can do, and we can do as a community. Probably a long-winded answer, but yes, we've been trying to address those traffic issues. And I would say that we've trained with our police department a little bit more to get them more comfortable with the role of evacuation, because they're in charge. And so they have to be able to identify critical routes that people can flee out of, as well as monitor so that people can get back in if, like, oh, hey, my family member's in there. Okay.
Yeah. What Chris said, or excuse me, Kelly said. I was on duty for Alameda, and I remain incredibly proud of all of the work that was done to evacuate everybody. There's a caveat in there, so slow down. We need to recognize that in the Alameda fire, the most destructive thing that's happened in Southern Oregon in recorded history, there were 3 fatalities. As I understand it, 2 of those were because people refused to evacuate. One was a man that was, in all likelihood, fleeing the fire trying to get to Bear Creek, and he didn't make it. I think hundreds of body bags had been ordered that day. In the end, 3 of them were needed. So I remain very, very proud of the law enforcement response that day. And I also fully recognize that there are so many improvements in that response that need to be made. Like Kelly said, we were not communicating with each other across disciplines, from law enforcement to fire, to ODOT, to Caltrans. Nobody knew what anybody else was doing. And that's how we ended up with Siskiyou Boulevard and Ashland Street becoming a parking lot. And I will be the first one to admit all day long that we got damn lucky that it went the way that it did, because if literally the wind had been blowing a different direction, it would have been a much greater disaster than it is. So proud of it. Also a hell of a lot to learn from that. We do need better lines of communication. We need to establish better command posts. We need to have representatives from all the disciplines at those command posts. It was a learning experience for all of us. I'll definitely say it was for me. I know Kelly will say it was for him. Nobody is prepared to address something of that magnitude. So am I going to tell you that everything went flawlessly? Heck no. We got very, very lucky. We were siloed from each other within the law enforcement community. We were siloed from each other, but 180 plus independent law enforcement entities, people, men and women, came from every agency in southern Oregon, even the VA police, the Grants Pass police, everybody came together and siloed from each other. We all understood what the mission was, and we all marched in the same direction. Should we have been in better communication with each other? Yes, we still succeeded, and I'm very, very proud of that.
I think since then, too, there's been more efforts for law enforcement agencies to get on the same page as to, like, this is how the evacuation is going to be done. And so there has been more training for law enforcement agencies and fire to coordinate with that. And that's all part of emergency management as well, too. Like, we have to bring everybody to the table, so.
Thank you. I think we have one more question before we go into the exercise. Hillary?
Yeah, so this is a question about the unhoused population, also people that don't have transportation, and people that are disabled.
Those are all great questions, and there are no perfect answers. Any person who is mobility challenged, I would suggest that they have an A plan. You lean on a neighbor, you lean on somebody close to you. I'm going to let Kelly, not Chris, but Kelly talk about the registry of disabled and homebound people that maybe Rogue Valley COG has. We want to be there for you. And I will say that I personally evacuated homebound people in wheelchairs and whatnot, and everybody else that worked that day did the exact same thing. I'm not singling myself out. We cannot be the A plan for that. There has to be something else in place. You have to rely on a neighbor. You have to try to get on a list. If you get on a list and RVCOG knows where you are, is RVCOG going to be able to get a bus in to get you? Probably not. There's no great answer for this, but it's got to be incumbent on each member of the community as much as is humanly possible to take that responsibility on yourself. And if we can get to you, we will get to you. The person that I personally evacuated out of a senior community in Talent called 911 as we were at the very tail end of that evacuation and said, I'm in Talent, I'm wheelchair bound, I can't get out, I happen to be a couple doors away. I took care of it. So in that instance, that worked out. That cannot be the #1 plan. You have to have something that through which you're dependent on yourself, through a neighbor, through a family member. There are other layers in place, but in the end, you have to take responsibility for yourself as much as possible. And if that doesn't work, we will try to be there, but that cannot be the A plan.
Kelly or Shreese.
I noticed, can you hear me?
Louder.
I noticed on Nextdoor yesterday, maybe because of the Evans fire or this event, an exchange take place between community members. One of the community members said, can somebody give me a ride if I need to evacuate? Essentially, that was the core. And the response from the community was, you need to ask your neighbors. So they got it. We're getting it.
I don't want to take too much more time from us because this problem has solutions, but it does take people taking some agency for their own situation or the person that they're caring for. And so we, the government, don't have the solve for all of that, which is why we are depending on the community. And what I think of is during the Alameda fire, and I get to applaud law. As a firefighter, and I think I've told this before for those of you that have heard it, as a firefighter, like, we saved a lot of people, but the cops saved more, and that hurts me to say that. But the other thing that happened during the Alameda, and there's another section that actually saved more people than the cops and firefighters combined. And who was that?
Us.
It was people showing up and saying, hey, okay, you're in a wheelchair here. I can try to throw it in my truck. I'm going to help you, put you in my truck and go. Strangers helping strangers, and people that shouldn't be strangers. You live in the same neighborhood. You should know each other. But people helping people save so many. It is one of the reasons why tragically, we lost 3 people. We should have lost a lot more. I could tell stories of what was happening in the command post when 2 sheriffs came in and said I was going to have 40 DOAs in a particular mobile home park. And as a little incident commander, a little battalion chief from Ashland Fire, and these 2 big meat-eating sheriffs. You ever seen a sheriff around here? They're big. And they're crying. And I'm like, well, it must be the smoke. But no, they were despondent because the people in this particular mobile home park were like, we're not going. You don't tread on me, law. We're going to stay and fight. And they're like, fire's blowing over their head. And they're like, you're going to die. They wouldn't listen to them. So they came to me at the command post and said, hey, this address, there's going to be at least 40 people that are dead. And with everything else that was going wrong on the Alameda Day, I was like, what did you say earlier? Take a breath? Okay. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm taking a breath. I'm writing it down on my tactical board. And way back when, in earlier history, when I was training with people from Katrina, I remember somebody saying, remember to get freezer trucks if you have a lot of dead bodies because you need to preserve them. And so I wrote on my tactical board, okay, 40, this address, freezer trucks with a question mark because I don't know where to get freezer trucks from. That's just the reality of what's happening during these big incidents is that you have to solve the problem. So sorry, I don't want to take too much more from you. But
No, I just want to say one thing that naturally flows off of that. The fact is law enforcement does not have the ability to order you out of your home. If in other states they have different laws. If I come across you or another law enforcement officer comes across you and says, level 3 evacuation, flee now, the fire is going to be here in a minute, and you say no, I'm going to say, you sure? And I'm going to record it on whatever device I have. Say, you sure? Because you're probably going to die. And as grim as it is, but we're talking about grim stuff, after I record that and I spend a little bit of time trying to convince you, I am moving on. And what's the alternative? If I physically try to remove you out of your house, I'm not going to be able to do it by myself. It's going to take 2, 3, 4 of us to do it. That means there's 2, 3, 4, 5 law enforcement officers that are not evacuating neighbors that want to go. So we have no legal ability to do it. We'll try to convince you to do it. And then in a hot second, we're moving on to the next house.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. I think we heard him. Okay. We're going to transition now to doing something interactive. We are a community, and we're going to act like a community here. So here we go. So we are going to do an exercise as if there were an actual wildfire. And we are going to work with each other to figure out what we're going to do. So we did this last year. We're changing it up a little bit this year we're going to divide the room into quadrants. So there's a center aisle, and then there's this center aisle. And so here I am on the stage. So if I have my rights and lefts correct, these folks, you're at home. When we do the exercise, you're at home. You guys over here, you're doing errands around town. You're not at home. You could be at the growers market, you could be at Albertsons, whatever, the co-op. You guys are out of town. You're lucky, I guess, except you're out of town. So who knows what's going on? What are you going to do? And this other group, you have a challenge in that you are responsible for someone else. So we talked about how we're going to help each other. You're responsible. You have a neighbor, or you have a child in school, or you have pets that you're worried about. So as we go through this exercise, you're going to be thinking about taking care of that other person. And I think in all these different scenarios, that's going to really put you in these other places instead of just thinking, I'm at home now, what am I going to do? So here we go. Let's see. Yes? So this side.
So can we,
Yeah,
I'll just
you
go
do it.
over this really quickly, okay? So you folks here Sorry, I'm so sorry. Do you need a medical person? Because we can get one for you. Sorry about that. So this section right here is you're at home, okay?
You're at home.
You all, in this whole section right here, you are out of town, even though it doesn't seem like it right now. Okay, this section over here, you are running errands around town, okay? This section right here, you're responsible for a child or adult who is at a different location. It can also be a pet.
Okay. We're going to remind you, but I think
Location.
thinking.
The 2D page.
Okay, you're gonna get all that. You're gonna get it. Here we go. Okay, wait. No, I have to tell you one more thing. So you're gonna be working with a buddy, and we're gonna call this your exercise buddy, right? So I want you to take just 60 seconds to pick someone next to you that you're gonna work with, a couple people, hopefully maybe somebody that you don't know, because then you get to make a new friend.
So we're going to go through a scenario. If you were here last year, you might recognize this scenario, but we've thrown in some extra things. You'll also probably recognize that is happening at this point. But the thing is the more you review it, the more you know it. So, okay, so we're going to imagine ourselves in the future just a couple months from now. It's Wednesday, September 16th, a hot, dry day in Ashland. Okay? A warm wind is blowing. It's east to west at sustained like 20, 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 40 miles an hour. So now it's 10 a.m. A 911 call comes in reporting a fire in the south of Ashland near Immigrant Lake. Fire and police respond. That fire might look something like this. Does it look familiar to everybody from last year?
What?
That's
Neil Creek.
That's the Neils Creek fire. Okay? Okay, so think for a moment. Where might you have been on a Wednesday morning in September at 10 a.m.? Okay, so in this image right here, we can see the beginning of this fire. The wind is blowing northwest, pushing that fire toward the city of Ashland. You may note the evacuation zones on this map are the same color as the ones in your handout. If you want to take a look at that. Okay, so at 10:30 a.m., Ashland Police Department issued the first public announcement, a level 2 be set for the whole city of Ashland.
I just want to clarify something. You did not receive an evacuation zone map in your booklets tonight, even though Hillary says you did.
Sorry.
However, for reference on the wall where we can see Eliza Cowder over there are several evacuation zone maps. And if you pull one up on your own device for the Know Your Zone Ashland map, or if you're already familiar, help your friends if you already know.
Okay, great. Now it's time to find your exercise buddy. Okay. All right, so some questions for you. How would you react to the news? Remember, you don't have access to the map you are looking at. You don't have access to that. You just know that you have heard a level 2 be set. That's what you've got. You also might find additional information.
Hold on a second, folks.
Hold on just
Hold
a
on.
second.
Let's listen to the I know you're anxious to get working. Let's listen to the instructions.
So what you've just received is that level 2 be set, okay? You might also be getting phone calls from your friends. You might be looking at news, okay?
Okay, are they ready to go now?
Yeah, so here's the question. What should you do? What should you do? If you have questions right now while you're working with your buddy, for this particular scenario, write them down, hand them to the volunteers. We can address as many as we can as part of this particular scenario. All right.
Okay.
So, ready? Go.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Wait, one thing of those.
Do you have any questions, Hillary, that you want to bring
this
out?
is a really good question. Does the high school have a plan should I call my child on his cell phone?
Good one.
The high school does have a plan. Joe Hattrick and Steve Mitzel and the folks that have designed it, they patterned it after our 3 levels of evacuation. So for a level 1, they have certain actions they take. Level 2, they have certain actions. And for those of you that have parents at the high school, or for those of you in that section that you're trying to pick up your child, if that's how you played, they have a text service that then says, if your child's available to be picked up, you can go get them there. But they'll also tell you where to pick up your child. And yeah, if you call your high school age student, then yes, what if you have a first grader? How would you do that? Well, then the school is going to contact you and say, hey, this is our plan. This is where we're going. But yes, they do have a plan in place.
Okay, Hillary.
Yeah, next question. So what do you do if you're out of town and you have a pet at home?
Ooh.
Bullshit.
I think that's the sort of thing that you should have prearranged, that if you're not going to be able to take care of your immediate domestic situation, get a pet out, get your go bag out, get the documents from a safe out. That's something you should have a friend, family member, neighbor prepared to do for you.
Great.
Let me see. This one says, does the city of Ashland have stickers to put in windows, letting fire department and police department know that there's an animal inside the house?
You're bad, but. What part, but? Really? What?
So there are likely stickers that have that. And yet, as a firefighter from 3 decades, a sticker wasn't the thing that stood out for me when I was coming to your house. Although when I was a kid, there were these silver ones that said fire taught or something like that, and it was a red oval. Did a firefighter, like at night or even during the day with fire blowing out of a window, did they see that one window? I can say maybe. And if you had that for your pet, maybe, but maybe not likely either. So if you like stickers and the fire department's like, yeah, we love it, and there's no fire department people here tonight, then yes. But I almost think anything helps. So if that helps you feel more settled with it, okay, great. Like it could work. It's not going to fail every time. I hope that answers it vaguely enough that it's a maybe.
Okay, we'll take one more question before we keep the scenario moving. Do you need a card?
No, I got one. So I've heard there's an emergency freeway on-ramp southbound at the end of North Mountain Avenue. Is that correct?
That is correct. So right after the Alameda event, ODOT took steps to lay down a gravel ramp off of North Mountain, which, since you're all going to learn where that is, you can go see it. It has to be controlled by ODOT or by somebody who can control traffic, because if we open it for a specific incident, not all incidents will require the North Mountain escape ramp to be open. There's just too many variables with fire. Like for the Alameda event, let's say, the Alameda event began on the far northwest end of town. You all, as emergency responders now, I've just knighted you. Should we open the North Mountain escape ramp for that event if the fire is going that way? No. Okay, thank you. You're all hired. But for some events, yes. And so for urgent events that it needs to get opened, then ODOT will open it and control it. When we did the wildfire evacuation drill, we cross-trained police department and our own street department, because even I know that during those events, sometimes it's possible. What if ODOT doesn't have their person and can't get to the gate? I need redundancy for that, because I don't want anybody hanging out behind the gate waiting for it to open. So we've cross-trained our street department, our police department. Our fire department also has access to it. I would say, though, too, with that ramp, if we're going to shuttle people south, we have to control the traffic, because you pulling your trailer, if you have one, pulling out onto I-5 where people are driving 75 miles an hour from gravel to the road, I don't need you to get struck by an oncoming vehicle and then block that thing up. We have to control it with cones and signage and other people doing that. So it has to be under those guys'.
Okay.
Sorry
All
to
right.
take so much.
No, thank you. Okay, we're going to keep moving.
Okay, we are looking at noon now. We've moved on to noon. You can smell and see smoke blowing into Ashland from the growing fire. There are reports of structures and catching on fire in the Oak Knoll neighborhood on the south end of town. So you can see the wind direction. You can see those embers, those yellow. Those are embers that ignite things that are flammable. They light them on fire. So a public message has been sent out at noon. It's level 3. Go now.
For all of Ashland. Okay.
Okay, so
Okay, hold on
like-
just a sec. Hold on just
Hold
a
on.
sec. Just a
Okay.
minute.
Okay, so turn to your buddy. All right. Okay, what will you do as soon as you receive this level 3 message? What are you thinking about? What other questions do you need answered right now? So again, if you have a question about this particular scenario, when you're talking with your buddy, fill out a card, hand it over to one of the volunteers, and we'll see if we can get it answered.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Okay, 2 minutes.
Go.
Got Hillary and Counselor Duquesne conferring over here. Thank you.
Okay, so if I try to get on the freeway from zone 4, do I do that or do I go to a big parking lot?
First choice is always to try to get out of town. First choice is to evacuate to a safe place farther away than the fire. Second choice is if you're getting stuck, if your route is blocked, and it could be, that could happen, then your fallback points are, okay, well, where's some open areas that I've been to before? Where have I learned I can go that could be a space that's protective for me?
Okay, thank you.
So I have a preschool. What if my parents can't get to their children? Is SOU, and there's no cell phone service, let's say that. Can my parents go to SOU? Where's the congregating point based on what the school district is doing?
Sure. Based on the school district or your own private school, you need to come up with a plan, and you need to share that with the parents. And we all live in an area that is prone to wind-driven wildfire. Like, it's time to go ahead and put some time and effort into telling parents, if you have a school or if you're part of a school, to knowing like what you're going to do for these different events that could happen. And on windy days, maybe red flag days, maybe that's a day to say, today we're taking a day off from bread day. You know, that's what happened in my preschool. We made bread.
Yeah.
We're just going to do some preparedness things.
And I
with-
know,
with our
Kelly, you
families.
said you worked with the YMCA. That's a great example of an organization that went ahead and did that.
Yeah, and for any business that wants it, the YMCA has given me permission to share. I've redacted all the personal information that was in there for like their contacts and things, but they laid out their plan, who does what they're doing at a level 1, what they're doing at a level 2. If they have an adjacent level 1 or level 2, like if it's, because the Ashland Family YMCA is in zone 6, but if zone 5 has something, they have a plan for that as well. It sounds like a lot, actually. Once you look at their plan, it puts it in a good framework, and I would recommend it to any business or somebody whose life is complicated enough that they're in different places at different times.
Yeah, and I know the Chamber also has a new guidebook for businesses as well, and they're out here after the program if you want to talk to them. Hillary.
Okay, so if we're separated from our person that we're helping, or perhaps anybody, can we connect them with them beyond phone if the phones aren't working?
Yes.
What? I think the question probably is, what do we do if the phone service isn't working?
One of the things that each of us should be talking about is if we get separated, where are we going to meet? I live in the Oak Knoll neighborhood, and I might say to my neighbors or to somebody that's in my household, all right, if our neighborhood, if the old Oak Knoll neighborhood establishes or suffers loss, but Albertsons is intact, we're going to meet in the Albertsons parking lot. If that suffers loss, then we're going to meet over at the airport. So it's a good idea. Assume that cell towers are going to be down. Assume that there's a horrific story about Alameda, and there might be somebody from SOU here, obviously, but maybe from the IT department, that when Alameda happened, there infrastructure was down because it was such a huge circuitous thing. And I don't know what it is, but I'm going to paint a picture. It went from Medford to Crater Lake around Klamath Falls, and all of that just completely zapped their IT infrastructure. And so worst case scenario, plan that the cell networks are down, the landlines are down, the internet's down, and come up with some ideas. If we have no other communication, we have spots A, B, and C that we're going to meet, and that might be the best you can do.
Okay. Hillary, you want one more?
Yeah, this is a good one. So is there a plan to convert I-5 southbound to northbound traffic if southbound traffic is halted? So the question is, really, is there something ODOT can do so we don't get into a bottleneck on the highway?
Yeah, ODOT will close so northbound or southbound traffic depending on the incident, and then they can reroute anybody that's still in those lanes and make all lanes going one direction. Does that happen like that? No. That's going to take coordination from them as well as their teams, and hopefully they are still being funded this year so that they have as many people as they need to do that.
Okay. Let's move. We're going to move to the next part, and I want you to brace yourself because we're kind of showing you the worst case just so we can think about it. So just brace yourself here.
Yeah, so it's 2:00. The fire has spread through the center of Ashland, igniting available fuels and structures. Some structures in the path of the fire burn while others do not. It remains 0% contained in spite of the efforts of firefighting resources. Yikes. Okay, so this is just a moment to take a breath. Does anybody remember how to breathe right now? Anybody remember how to count to 4 right now? How about if we do it together? 1, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, go to 6, 5, 6. They say that's better for you. Okay. Feel your feet. Can you feel your feet? Okay, now it's time for something different. So how about puppies? Yay, it's puppies.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, congratulations for making it to the puppies. That's a big deal.
Yes, you made it. You got out. Okay. So now I think with that exercise complete, I think, Hillary, our plan is to devote as much time now to doing more Q&A. So this is your time. And again, as we said, we'll take a few minutes at the end and just tell you some other programs that are coming up. So please stick around. This is the best part, I think. So, and our volunteers are working hard. We've got some hands up, people needing some cards, I think.
I can give you one while we're collecting more cards.
But are you ready to ask?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
You all ready for another question?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
Let me do just like 1 minute just to collect some more.
Okay.
Just to collect some more questions here. Just give it 1 minute.
I know that.
A really good question. Something that you might be thinking about, maybe not. So what if you're like, I got to get out of here, but it would be smart if I turned all my sprinklers on, whether you're on TID or not? What is the answer to that question? And what is there's a whole thing about opening your doors, not opening your doors, breaking in your window, whatever. What's the best way to leave your property as safe as possible?
I was just checking the room to see if Eliza Sorensen with water conservation is here. Okay, it's just us. She's not here right now. All right, is it going to make your property survive a wind-driven ember storm fire like the Alameda? Again, maybe a solid maybe, but could, if everybody on the block turns on their sprinkler system as they evacuate, could that impact water available for firefighters from the hydrant system? Yes, it could. So if you have time, and maybe it's a level 1, potentially it's a level 2, and you have enough knowledge of like which way the wind's blowing and the fire is close, but it's really not coming towards you. If you took 15, 20 minutes to wet things down, like that might help you feel better, but you don't want to leave it running. I wouldn't do that.
I think
hope
I'd
that
like,
answers it.
That's good, but I think I'd like to pass to Charisse as well, as someone who's really thought a lot about our vegetation.
Well,
Hold close.
one of the things, whenever I'm asked this question, a lot of people want to do everything they possibly can to stop the fire. And so they might invest in a sprinkler system on the top of their roof. Is the hand raised up there? And my advice is don't do that, because it is unreliable. The water will be blowing away under strong winds from where you intended to put it when you put it on your roof. Those winds take it away. So you're maybe helping your neighbor, but the water also technically evaporates within about an hour. If you're spending time trying to do all of this water instead of evacuating or doing the other things that might delay your evacuation, it's just not a good idea. The better choice is to make your home self-defensible through proper home hardening and landscape risk reduction. It's a better investment. It means that the water will be available for firefighters, and you won't be wasting a lot of water watering your neighbor's yard. So, and that's my short
Great.
answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Hillary.
yes, so there's a related question to that. Like, what if you've worked really hard getting all those, like, the bark away from your house and, like, the dry weeds and all the things, but your neighbor has perhaps done the opposite?
Charisse?
Well, we recognize that a single home that has done all they can to do risk reduction is not guaranteed to survive a wildfire ember event, especially if the neighboring home catches fire. So the best thing you can do is really work as a neighborhood to reduce the overall risk. Sometimes it takes time and energy, but one of the main things you need to do is not be antagonistic or hostile to that individual who does not want to reduce the vegetation around their property. However, what I've seen over time is that if a lot of people in the neighborhood are taking those actions, it kind of catches on. And people are more motivated by basically herd activity. So don't give up on doing your own property just because your neighbor is not doing it. The more we do collectively, the more likely the neighborhood will survive.
Great. Okay.
Can you, maybe you've answered this question, but the question is about the gate on North Mountain. Is somebody just automatically open that up? Like, what's the process on that?
Yeah, the process is depending on the incident. If we need to evacuate an area of town and the North Mountain escape ramp is going to help contribute to that, then the normal process would be that several ODOT employees who work in a yard that's off of Tolman Creek Road and are normally there will open the gate up. They'll put a cone traffic thing out there so people don't get schmucked in the right lane, and then it will be open for flow. And what was neat to see in the evacuation drill that we did in October was just how smooth that went. Is it going to go smooth in a fleeing event? Okay, it might be harder, but we got a rep under our belts with it, and so if we need it again, it should go much smoother.
Yeah.
Just to drive the point home, that gate is a great asset, and it is really, really hard to imagine a circumstance under which anybody other than ODOT, APD, OSP, the fire department would open it, because it is very, very complicated. And if it's not done exactly the right way with exactly the right precautions, we're just going to have crashes on I-5, which are going to cause additional problems. So I would encourage anybody to not consider that if this happens, I am going down to open up that gate, because it is way more complicated than that.
So
So I just want to draw a line on, like, the North Mountain Gate is fascinating, right? Because there aren't many communities that have created one more little outflow. It also leads to questions of, like, why don't we have more of these? It takes resources and people. It takes grading of slopes with the right amount of things on there. So that particular one was a great spot. It wasn't too hard. It didn't take a lot of funding for ODOT to put it in. But it's also not the is panacea the right word for, like, the cure-all for everything?
Yes.
There are other ways out of town, people. And so while it is cool that we have that, and we will use that for an incident-dependent thing that's like, yes, of course we need to open that, don't just use that as your, what did you say, your A plan. It can be in your plan, but you should have other options too.
Great.
I said this last year also. In the evacuation study, the amount of time saved by adding that exit was 10 minutes in a 4-hour window to evacuate the town. I do a lot of wildfire risk assessments, and when I ask people what their plan is to evacuate when they live up here in in South Mountain, or other areas, they say they're going to go to that location. That is not going to help. It's going to be gridlocked. There's a lot of people that live over there. Really think twice about using that North Mountain exit as your primary plan. We don't know which way the fire is coming from, how soon it will get opened up, and you could get trapped.
Yeah. Okay. Hillary.
Yeah, so Sharice, this question is also for you, I think. So if you have a pine tree in your yard and it's a good distance away from your house, and I'm not sure the person who asked the question how far is, but probably a lot of us have that scenario, and it's got some dry branches on it, but it's a good distance from the house, and it's also limbed up, so there's really nothing on the ground. What do you still have to take further actions with that tree, or is that good enough?
It really is context dependent. I don't like to answer it out of context, but you've done the right thing. The main thing is that you need to have the tree branches probably about 30 feet away from the house. How many of us have that situation? If you limb the tree up sufficiently that there's nothing growing underneath it that could cause it to light, and it doesn't have a lot of dead material in it to begin with, it is probably safe. In fact, what will probably happen in that situation is the house, if it burns, will burn the tree. The tree will not burn the house.
Ah, interesting.
We have had at least 2 or 3 questions about tourists. If there's an evacuation plan for tourists, maybe the chamber has that in place, but
There's a couple of things that you, as locals, whether you live in Ashland, Talent, or Eagle Point, when we have visitors that are here that are really basking in the richness of the quality of life that we have around here, it's to raise the awareness that we're living in an area that is wildfire prone. If you notice on the news, it seems like everywhere is wildfire prone now, and it used to just be a West Coast problem. It's not. And so you have a lot to offer for those of you that are here that are learning about it tonight, or if you've already, I'm sure you've been to previous workshops, you're concerned about it, you're trying to work on your own situation, you're trying to work with each other. It's kind of our responsibility to let people know about that. So we've worked with the chamber to try to get businesses to post like what their evacuation zone is in. There's another piece in me too that when somebody says, what's an evacuation zone? I don't roll my eyes. I just go, I'm so glad we're talking right now. And then I try to explain to them this is why we have them. And here's where you can find out where you're at. The Columbia Hotel, the old hotel downtown, they have gotten into this program because they have a lot of PCT hikers, a lot of tourists stopping in there, and they're young and invincible, and they just, what do they care about wildfires? Well, Jay Bowen, who runs the hotel, shows them exactly where they're at, talks to them about routes. If they don't have transportation, then it's time for them to sort of figure out what are they going to do if they find themselves in the middle of it. You know, who have they connected with through time? Who could they contact with family saying, hey, I'm now at a shelter located in Talent, maybe come and get me. So making those plans ahead of time, and are we doing enough for them? it's hard to say. I would prefer it if every tourist that came just had a really wonderful time, but we also know fire doesn't care. And so we might get smoke, we might get wildfire, and it's on us to help anybody that shows up. So
Okay.
that's my thought.
So I want to take an opportunity to share these resources from the chamber that I know they've just put a whole lot of work into these, really well done, just produced in the last couple months. Thank you, chamber volunteers and Sandra Slattery and her committee. So the Business Emergency Preparedness Workbook is a really good resource for businesses or anybody who's got, taking care of people coming, from out of town. Also, this table tent, this is really good, I think, for restaurants or Airbnbs, B&Bs, hotels, anywhere, because it tells them how to sign up for alerts, and it maybe kind of gets them, aware. So I think these are at the chamber table, and you could talk to them about getting some of these if that works for you.
Yeah, two quick questions here about if you actually don't have a cell phone, does the city have a siren system that will go off? So it doesn't matter if you have a cell phone, you'll hear that there is like emergency system activation that the whole town can hear?
The city doesn't have, and many cities do not, but some do, they don't have a wildfire specific announcer or a speaker that's outside. What we do have in a fleeing situation, the most critical situation, is we have to rely on our police officers with their PAs going door to door. We rely on the Everbridge system, the Jackson Alert system that's going to get pushed out. Is it possible that communications could fail? Yes. Is it going to happen every time? No. And then we have you all connecting in with friends and neighbors and paying attention to the weather. So we have redundant systems there. Now, should the city invest in infrastructure that gives us speakers that'll wake us up at night, that'll say wildfire, evacuation, go now, and stuff too? Possibly, but it's not as simple as that, right? That takes funding, facilities, maintenance, ongoing. It takes a person then to hit the buttons and write the message that then tells you you need to go. What we're doing right now, in the absence of having a perfect system that's going to wake us up and let us know, is we're doing everything else we possibly can. And that might be enough. But someday, and I guess the only other siren system we do have is if the dam fails, we have sirens all down the inundation zone for the folks in the canyon as well as beyond and we test it monthly.
So Kelly, if you were a person that doesn't have a cell phone, what would you do? So is there any way to get a message through a landline?
Oh yeah, the Everbridge system, when you sign up for an account with Jackson Alerts, you get to decide how you like to be contacted. Landlines are still around. At latest census stuff I was looking at is we still have about 20% of our population that relies on a landline only. Okay.
So you'll get a call.
So you will get a phone call. There will be a voice on the end of the line that reads the message that says that. It gets repeated, and then you are supposed to be able to act from that. Also, for folks that are hard of hearing, the TTY systems, it goes through that. What are the other ways that Everbridge has everything?
Okay.
You just get to decide how you want to be contacted there.
Okay. Ty, Chief O'Meara, did you want to add something?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to state loud and clear that this is not in place yet, but there is a effort coming statewide to address this exact thing. Again, this is not in place yet, and it won't be in place for a while. Everybody knows the siren in England, and forgive my voice, I'm not as melodic as Kelly. It goes, the British one. And here it's either the long wail or the whoop, 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 whoop. All right. That's the extent of my creativity for the night. Thank you. This is not in place yet, but there's an effort eventually, because the high-low British-style siren is not recognized by the state of Oregon as an emergency siren for emergency vehicles. So there is an effort in place, underscore again, it is not in place yet, for everybody to adopt the British-style high-low siren so that if you hear that, you know there's an evacuation going on. And so that is not dependent on cell networks, it's not dependent on the 1700 AM, it's not dependent on anything other than all of the first responders in the state eventually, not yet, eventually being trained that is reserved only for evacuations. So more to come on that in the coming year or so.
But I want to focus on what you just said in there, that 1700 AM.
Yeah.
So that's a radio station. Remember those? Yes. So what happens if you tune your dial? What are you going to find on 1700 AM?
This is a fire department thing.
Oh, okay.
Or emergency management. So the 1700 AM, if you have a vehicle that has a radio, well, first I challenge you to find the AM dial. But some of us have them, or they have the old battery-powered radios with the antennas, and the channel on 1700 has a looped message that also fire department personnel and emergency management, we have access to it. We can record a quick message on there that will say, hey, there's an evacuation going on. There are shelters in these areas. Now I'm going to temper this with a little bit of the expectation that, is that the first thing we're going to do when there's an emergency in town? No, it takes another human to be able to have time and capacity and a competent message, a clear message to send and record. And it only takes 4 or 5 minutes to record that message, but then that is available and it plays over and over on the old AM 1700. So go get yourself a battery-powered radio, because if we get the event like that, then in at least a couple hours, we're going to have some kind of message on there for you that should help in an evacuation or in a major fire. So I promise you that.
I want to make sure I get one thing out before we're done.
Please.
And I'm not trying to end this on any kind of a Debbie Downer note. I've done enough of that. I just want to be very, very clear. The men and women of the Ashland Police Department are here for everybody as much as possible. On September 8th, 2020, there was a massive response. And I will say that when I personally responded to Quiet Village and I was helping to evacuate people, I looked around and I was absolutely in awe. I saw state troopers, I saw county deputies, I saw police officers from all over the place. It was awesome. It was fantastic. And like I said, we had on that day about 181 individual police officers come out of the woodwork, drop absolutely everything they were doing. But in reference to the questions about if I'm wheelchair bound, if I'm home, if I'm bedridden, the stickers with the pets, I've got a pet in here. I'm going to put this out to you. Forget Alameda. Somebody give me a guess what minimum staffing on any given day of the Ashland Police Department is. She's got a 3 right there. That is our minimum staffing. So on the day of Alameda, we happen to have the 3 or maybe 4 patrol officers assigned to emergency response, me, the deputy chief, some other admin people, some detectives, and so we could field 11 people. That happened on a Tuesday in September during business hours. Everybody was at work. If that had happened at 3 o'clock in the morning on any given day, maybe you've got 3 people, and one of them might already be in Medford lodging a prisoner. And so we want to be there for you. We will be there for you anytime that we can. But when you think about that staffing level, we are not the ones to look at that sticker in the window. We are not the ones to be relied upon to get that bedridden person out. We will if we can, but with 2 or 3 or 4 people for a town of 21,000, that is not your A plan.
Right. Hillary?
Yeah, this is a great question. So
This might be our last question,
this
Hillary.
might be our last question. It's kind of like there's a couple things wrapped in here. So if you're downtown and you're in a traffic jam and you're not going anywhere, what is your advice on abandoning your vehicle? Because if one person does it, kind of everybody's a bit screwed. But then there's like, what do we do? I got to get out of here. So wrapped into that is options about walking, going on foot, and riding a bike.
Okay, so I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I would tell you what I would do, because I'm a human as well. And if I got jammed up in a traffic jam downtown, I would try to move my vehicle as far out of the way as possible. I wouldn't just leave it sitting in the middle, because that's going to bottleneck as many other people as it will, right? So my first goal is to move my vehicle out of the way as much as possible. And if I have to flee on foot, I grew up in Alaska. I always wear closed-toed shoes. Some of you don't. And I get it. Your feet get hot. But you know, I can run a lot faster, and my feet don't get embers on them. So I would recommend having in your go kits or in your vehicle, if you're stuck in traffic and it's wildfire season, a pair of closed-toed shoes that you can hoof it if you're able to use your feet to move. Let's see, and then I'm going to think, if I'm downtown, where are some areas that are clear of trees and grasses and things like that that could catch fire. Oh, and I brought a N95 mask in my go kit too, because I'm probably going to be breathing smoke. Oh, and I also have a nice pair of safety glasses, because there's all those embers, they bug my eyes. So I'm going to put those things on. And then if I still have communications, I'm going to reach out to my sweetheart, and I'm going to say, are you guys okay? Because I'm going to head downtown to make sure more emergency messages get sent out so that people know where they need to go. And that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully that's given you something to think about for your own plans as to what you might do.
Chief or Sharice, do you want to talk about what you would do? Of course, you're going to be helping all of us, but if you weren't, what would you do?
I think I agree with Kelly 100%. Your obstacle that you're leaving behind is your vehicle. Try to make it not an obstacle, and then make your own decision based off of your circumstances in the moment. Nobody can tell you what to do. But almost none of this is, well, the three people on the podium told us what to do, so that's what I'm going to do. We're hoping that you can all think about this, formulate your own plans, and respond best in the moment with the best information that you have.
Sharice, what are you going to do?
Well, my plan is to evacuate early.
Yes, there.
Level 2, probably. And I really am pushing that because it means fewer people in town. I'm more likely to get my vehicle out with my things in it. And if I can't make that happen, I have pre-identified an area close to my home where I plan to go to. If I can, I will drive to it so that my belongings are there. I'm not telling you where it is because everyone will be there.
Yeah.
And if I can't do that, I plan on putting on a backpack, putting my cat in it, and walking or riding my bike to that location in town. I have pre-identified a safe area in a couple of directions. One is preferred.
Yeah. Great. Okay, I want to, I have a few more slides, but I really want to thank our presenters here and our volunteers. Yeah. Okay. So, and our volunteers are from Ashland News, Ashland.News, and Ashland Climate Collaborative. So I want to tell you about a few things to help you continue your journey, things that are coming up soon. The first is, we talked a lot about the importance of community and knowing our neighbors, and maybe even having a plan as a neighborhood, knowing who needs help, maybe knowing who has medical training. This is what this new Ashland Climate Collaborative initiative is about. And I know there's a lot of wildfire, fire adapted, firewise, all kinds of things. It's confusing. The point of this is that we need to know our neighbors. We need to start, some of our social fabric has broken down. We don't talk to each other in person. We go on Nextdoor or Facebook. The research really shows that the most important thing, as these guys have talked about, is our relationships with each other, because we are really going to need each other. So this initiative, we hope you'll sign up at least to get more information, but it's a peer-to-peer network. I'm saying us, I wear two hats. I volunteer for the board of this organization as well, so I'm kind of doing two wildfire things here. I really believe in the importance of this, we need to at least have a social gathering. What if we had a phone list that we could reach each other? We knew who needed help. We knew who had resources. We're going to give you tools to do that. So we're going to have our second community meeting. Anybody can come Tuesday, July 28th. We do ask that you RSVP so we can control the thing. And we're excited to be partnering with the Ashland Community Food Bank. Another thing, Ashland.news is going to put out another print edition like we did last year. I think, like me, maybe you found that was a keeper. I kept it all year. It's a great resource. That's going to be in the next couple weeks. And they'll be covering this. Our reporter, Holly Dillamuth, is here, and she's going to be writing it up, and that will be written up in here. So, yay. Hey, let's hear it for Holly Dillamuth. Yeah. She's a great reporter. We're so fortunate to have her, and we don't often get to thank her in person. We're going to have a program on August 12th. This mic sounds really weird, doesn't it? Pull it away. Okay. Okay. All right. Good thing I'm not singing. Wednesday, August 12th, the same collaborative group is doing a program on wildfire and insurance. Is anybody concerned about their property insurance? I know a lot of people are. So please register for this Zoom program on August 12th. As Kelly mentioned, there will be a dam failure exercise on October 28th. Sign up for a wildfire risk assessment for your neighborhood. It's a great idea. The other thing about the Wildfire Ready Neighborhoods Initiative is just what Cherise said as well, is we're only as safe as our neighborhood. So this is a way, like if we could build these relationships, we can start these conversations, and hopefully we can all rise together to improve the safety of our neighborhoods. I really think that's the only way this is actually going to happen. So it's really coming down to our humanity with each other. And if you need help with alerts, my Ashland News colleagues will be there by the door to help you with that if that's challenging for you. And yes, sign up for Wildfire Ready Neighborhoods and get in the loop on that. Chamber resources we talked about. And tell your neighbors or tell your friends about this program. It's being recorded by RVTV, so it will be on the Ashland News YouTube channel. And I'm going to be I'm the one who goofed today and sent you the wrong email, acting like the program had happened, because I'm a volunteer. I'm going to send it again. You're going to get a feedback survey. Please do that, because our goal is, we want to make this as good as possible, because our lives, this is really important stuff. We really read your comments, and we're really going to take those questions, and we're going to compile them, and we're going to let you know when those answers are available on the Ashland Climate website. And I think that is it. Thank you.